Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Secrets for an Inspirational Life. I hope that you are all well and that you are enjoying a little beautiful and a little precious moment here and there in life. I'm so glad that you are able to join me today. And you know what? In times like this, and really in any time in life, we all need a touch of humour and delight. And it's this really that makes life look a little brighter, feel a little more beautiful, and, gives us a certain joie de vivre about life. I believe that one of the most important things also is that we surround ourselves with goodness and light-hearted people because they touch our lives in so many unexpected ways. And that's why I am so very, very happy and quite excited, I have to say, to have my next guest. And it's the ever-lovely Fanni Compton, who is an actress, a writer, a singer, and known recently for Nowhere Close and Lockdown Lifeline. But also, much like the music that she is inspired by, Fanni is a very elegant, funny, powerful lady. And she recently won an online best song competition in the rap genre, I believe. And her music is also being used in a new film, The Making of Alex, which will be released sometime later this year. So without further ado, I have to say I'm really excited about having Fanni on. She's an amazing lady. Welcome, Fanni.
Wow. Hello.
Hi.
That's quite an introduction. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
You.
How are you?
Yes, I'm very well.
Tell us a little bit about what you do. And because I know you've got lots of creative things going on and you are absolutely, I have to say to you, I follow your stuff and I've said this to you before, it is so hilarious. And I actually gave it to my mum the other week to listen to, and she was really laughing. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into it.
Well, you say, what do you do? I'm still trying to fathom that out myself. I don't know.
Aren't we all?
Fundamentally, I'm an actress, or an actor, if you want to be politically correct. But, an actor, and I've sort of, along the way, branched out into other avenues, such as, being a recording artist and things like that, which are sort of dreams that I followed along the way. But acting, as I've always said, I always say this, I pretty much kind of knew coming out of the womb, it was for me to tread the boards. That was my vocation. That is what I should be doing. So there's never really been any question of, I don't know, it's always been there. So it's only natural for me to follow it. And that's all I've ever done. I've been quite fortunate. I've never had to wonder what it is I wanted to do with my life, ever.
That is a gift, because I always think to myself, when I look at other people and then I look at myself and I think, well, it's like I've always wanted to be a writer. And it's something that isn't it, innately when you're young as a child, what makes you happy. It's that go-to place also, isn't it? When maybe you're not feeling so good or you're feeling sad, it brings some sort of a light back into your life.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. For the last sort of few years, 3 to 4 years, I've been mostly known on social media for, again, as I think I told you, for comedic skits or comedy sketches, impersonations, characters, this sort of thing. That's what I've been known as. And it's actually that which, I don't want to use the term saved me, because that's a bit, but it got me out from somewhere which was so horrifically dark. And it didn't, single-handedly do that, but it had a large part to play in getting me out of somewhere which was just horrific. just terrific. And it saved me. And actually, interestingly, that is how my whole kind of persona and social media presence was born. Being so unwell mentally at the time, so that really, it pulled me out and has gotten me to a place where I never at that time could have dreamt where I'd be now.
I know artists, and I can speak also for myself, somehow they say, you know, artists are people that we all tread this fine line, I think, through life and trying to keep ourselves sort of, you know, like a trapeze artist on the right path. And I think what happens is that when we deny that, who we are, this is when we start to find it difficult, especially people who have this creative streak, because it's something, in a way, Fanny, greater than you. It needs to come out and materialise.
Well, it's, again, I keep going back to social media, sorry, but it's that whole thing, that whole platform was there. Had that not been there, I wouldn't have had the means to kind of do that. And the platform sort of helped that along with my desire to create these characters. There was suddenly an audience there which wasn't available to me at that present time for various reasons. I wasn't well enough to go out and audition for a theatre job. I wasn't well enough to do this, that or the other. But I could get lost in these moments of creation where they belied what was actually going on with me. But in turn, they ended up making me better. And I had that audience which didn't see how ill I was or anything else other than what it was I put on the platform.
Now, I know that you do so many different characters. I'm just fascinated with the type of characters that you do, and they are so real. And for me, every character that I've seen of yours, I know a person like that. You know, I think...
Oh, that's a great compliment,
Yes, I know, that's so-and-so. Oh, that's so-and-so. Oh, my goodness, that's so-and-so. And that's what makes it even more hilarious, you know, because we all know somebody like you are portraying. This is the fabulous thing about it. And do you think that this sort of gift that you have to be able to, I just have to say this to the listeners, you know, they have to check you out because it's hilarious. You know, some of the sketches, and they're so raw, in how you are, oh my goodness, but so hilarious, oh my goodness. It's so funny. They have to, you know, you'll have to give all details where to find you and everything, because there's something also in these characters that, in a way, for me, I don't know whether this was your intention, but it's like a psychology of people, of different people.
Well, thank you very much. These are very great compliments to mine ear. For sure, absolutely. It's better than the usual, oh, yeah, that was well funny, mate. I appreciate that. I appreciate that because I do. I've got a psychology anyway. It's a great fetish of mine. Don't get me started. But studying behavioural traits of people, and it's all about what people don't say, and your body language. I've got all of that. I'm a great observer anyway, but psychologically, I really love to get to grasps with certain stereotypes of people, and portraying that in a truthful but heightened way. I appreciate that compliment very much.
I mean, you're very welcome, because for me, it's not only that it's funny, it's actually it goes on a deeper level. And I wanted to ask you, actually, was that intentional? Because each one of the characters that you do, there's a sort of frailty within that character, but there's also a certain strength, and there's a whole story behind it. That
you're making my day. You're making my day with these.
This is what and that's why I wanted you to come on the show, because there's so much more to you. You know, there's the comedy aspect, which, as I said, is very, very funny. But there's also some education and psychology in all of these characters if you look deeply enough.
My daddy didn't give a shit. But my mum, yeah. She thought I was going to be something like, you know, like big, successful, you know. Make something of your life, Tracy. She said, make something of your life, because I never did. And I felt the pressure of that, you know. I really felt the pressure, like I had to become something, be something, do something more than I was. Maybe that's been the issue. Never really believed that I'm up to much, do you know what I mean? And then kids came along. And all your dreams are dashed, aren't they?
Well, thank you for looking deeply enough, first off.
You're welcome.
Yes, I do appreciate that, because I always strive for truth over funny, because funny comes from truth. Which I think some people get wrong, you know, and yeah, and in truth, there are, again, what I've tried to focus on, those nuances of human character, and they're not just to be hazed over in one mass, you know. It's and with regards to the strength and the frailty, I think anyway, and I think Mel Streep alluded to it in one quote that I cannot remember now, but something about you're sort of playing elements of yourself in every character you're giving yourself. You're just altering that slightly, or, you know, upping the ante in some respects. But we all have our own levels of vulnerability and frailty, but also strength. It's just whether you're prepared to show it. And I think as an actor, you have to 100% show that, because being multifaceted is what makes a real human. They're not all just of one thing. So, yes, I appreciate that compliment, that they're more than just a funny, because I never set out actually to be funny. I set out to be truthful, and I guess I played that up, you know, a little over as time has gone on. But yeah, it's about being truthful to those characters, and
it does come across, because in a way you could have a whole series just on that one character, because the character is complete in itself, that somehow you can, for sure, can associate with them on some level. You know, it's like, I know this person. You make these characters personable, and they are unique in some way, and yet they are also a realization of some types of people and characters, different types of characters that we have, you know, in everyday life.
For sure. I remember I was younger, my mother, she didn't have a lot of money. She was kind of on the poverty line. And it was always her wish to kind of, I suppose, make me better than I'd started out in life. So, you know, from a very young age, she was always correcting my speech and, oh, don't speak like that, and hold your head up, and all of this. Yet we were living on a sort of a really rough council estate, but it was imperative to her that I was different from every single person, and that I had dreams and ambitions, and I spoke differently. You know, that was really strong. I felt that, but I don't really understand how it all came about, and I think she met someone at the time. But I started going to this private school, otherwise meaning that you have to pay for your education.
Yeah.
So, she sent me there, and I remember this was only for a short time. I think we kind of became nouveau riche after that, and our lifestyle changed. But I distinctly remember at the beginning that distinction between going home to that terraced house and all those people there who are the people, I suppose, that just slightly gave light to some of the characters I do, some of them, or their ways of thinking, and then going to this school where everybody, here we are, yeah, fuck yeah. You know, and the life was so different, and the only one coming back in this sort of bow tie thing and hat and cape and, you know, over the top uniform. But seeing that contrast there and taking some of those characters to school, but conversely taking the characters from school back to home, and seeing how that makes people laugh when you really get the truth of somebody. They see a lot of other people in it. But yes, that was probably my first dabble into creating other characters very briefly and seeing the effect that had on people.
And yes. And could you sort of jump in and out of those two different worlds easily? Is it something that, you know, the posh school with the capes to, you know, the poor estate? How did you balance those two things out?
Well, I had the rich more than I had the poor, so it kind of outweighed that lifestyle.
Oh.
More so. But I don't know, I've always kind of had a love. Do you know the programme Shameless?
No, I've heard of it, but I've never ever watched it.
Right, well, some of your listeners may or may not, but it's sort of stuck on this council estate, basically a place where everybody's sort of on benefits or they're struggling. It's poverty line stuff. And fundamentally, all dreams, hope and faith are diminished. They're gone. They're out of the window because we have to focus on the day-to-day, getting food on the table, drinking our bellies and so on. It's that kind of everyday living, you know, hardcore poverty line living. And I kind of have a kind of love, or I don't want to say affinity or love actually, but I don't know, a kind of a love for that where there's no dreams, there's nothing on the table. You just live every day, day to day, watching the television, and you're not chasing anything. You're not feeling that you haven't lived up to anything. There's no failures. You just get on with it, you know, every day, and you just do that until you get old. And I can sometimes envy that.
I was talking to my osteopath and he said to me, Mimi, and he was talking of a similar program, but I can't remember what it was. And he said to me, don't you realise that people are always happy? And I said, where are they happy? And he said, well, you know, I think it was Benefit Street, actually. And he said, do you not notice that people are happy? And I said, well, I have watched. And I said, well, they are actually, because there's a sense of community. And,
well, yeah, of course, yes.
And I said, well, I have. And he said, well, maybe we've got it all wrong. And it was just such an interesting flip of the coin of really what does make us happy in life? What is it really that makes us happy? Because, you know, people say, I want to be happy. I have so many people say to me, I want to be happy. And, you know, happiness is not a destination. It's momentary. You know, if we can grab happiness here and there. I don't know. What makes you happy, Fanny?
Do you know what? I've got a bit of a gripe with the word happy.
Have you? Please share. Please share.
Because I think it kind of goes in ranking. So you've got pleasure, you've got being happy or happiness, then you've got joy, and then you've got bliss. And so I kind of try and not aim for pleasure or happiness and more for joy or bliss, because happiness is very akin to pleasure in that it is fleeting and it is dependent on exterior. Whereas joy and bliss is dependent on what is going on inside and can't be swayed by exterior. So happiness is, I'll be happy when I can get that job. Oh, I know I'll be happy when I've lost 3 stone. Oh, I know I can be happy when, you know, that man says yes to me. It's so dependent, happiness. And happiness can be, I was happy yesterday, but I'm not today. So it seems a bit erratic and a bit, I don't know, a bit flighty for me, the word happiness. And I may be going too much into it, but I think going down that ever so slightly, if I'm erring on that Buddhist route, but we should seek more joy and bliss. So that's why I've got a bit of a gripe with happiness. Like, what makes you happy? Well, you know, who aims for that? Anything can make me happy for an hour. I can have sex. I can watch a film. I can eat a piece of chocolate. You know, oh, I'm happy now. Oh, but now I'm not again. It's too fleeting. So I think we should be aiming for something which cannot be swayed, as I say, by exterior. You know, I hear something on the news and I'm sad again, or whatever it is. And joy and bliss, they're something that comes from within, you know, is stronger, I think.
I totally agree with you. And I came to the conclusion that it actually wasn't happiness. It was actually serenity and peace.
Right, yes.
So long as, you know, as long as I was in this state of peace, and no matter what happened on the outside, there was this sanctuary within me that I could somehow find, even for an hour or two, a place of safety and retreat. Then that is what I'm aiming for in life, because, and I take it day by day, one of the worst things I think is when we look to the past or we look too much to the future, because neither belongs to us in some way.
For sure, yeah.
We only have the now, and that's why I'm interested in your views, because I know that you now, are you a Buddhist, Fanny?
Look, the spiritual journey is a complex and long one sometimes. So I wouldn't want to place myself in a category of the Buddhist box. I wouldn't want to place myself in there necessarily anymore. I would say possibly if I would, and I don't like using the word follow either, but the closest, like there's like a follower of someone like Osho, if you're familiar with him.
Yes, I am.
But more his teachings. I don't find many people who share my views on that or his liking of him, but maybe I'm in the wrong social circles. But anyway, but yes, more so, but this more liberated thinking for sure. And you know what it all boils down to? Just fucking knowing that the answer is within. There's no more to be said fundamentally. There is absolutely no more to be said. The only thing is that each individual has to find the way in which they find the answers to those questions. That is it.
I love that. That is absolutely, yes, that's very clear, and that's very, very true. And it's wise words indeed, because we spend a lifetime searching for something, and yet we are the treasure. We're searching, and yet it's here. It's like in The Alchemist, you know, we're looking, but it's really with us.
Again, what I'm saying though, everyone looks to exterior rather than what's within. And when you keep looking to exterior to fill, the hole will ever only keep getting deeper. It's like a vortex. You can keep putting it in and it might fill for a while, but it will keep going down. And you'll keep chasing that and chasing it and filling it with the clothes, with the money, with sex, whatever it is, alcohol, whatever it is, you'll keep chasing it. You will never get full because it's all within. But people don't want to look within because it's hard work, because it hurts, because, you know, for varying reasons. But yeah, absolutely.
And what has helped you to look within? What can you, if you were to give some advice, I mean, what has helped you, and where do people begin? Because so many times people don't know where to begin.
Well, I can say where it began that I'm conscious of, but I think I was always a child who was a thinker. I would enjoy, in the same way that you might, you know, run up to your room and enjoy some sweets and a magazine. I would run up and get excited about, I can sit here for 2 hours and think.
Yes.
Something wasn't quite right, but I didn't understand, you know, see that.
I still do that. What are you talking about?
Well, that's amazing. I don't in the same way. I wish I did. I seem to have lost that ability, but as much. But, you know, I always loved doing that, just thinking, how exciting. Philosophizing and, you know, thinking about things. What a rank pastime. But yes, so I've always kind of been like that. And, you know, I think from an early age, I didn't really have the concept, but at an early age, it was always, you know, sort of existential questions there. Who am I? What is the meaning of life? What is time? What, you know, it's always this. And my mother like, oh, God, you know, why can't you just go and play or something. So that was always kind of there. Looking within, I mean. And so you get drawn to things dependent on how you perceive and think about the world, don't you? So in my early 20s, I somehow, and can't remember how, got drawn into a Buddhist meetup, which was every week. And we would just talk and meditate. And I couldn't stop going back. It got a bit addictive, and I guess it hooked me after the first time, or was it the second time I tried to meditate, and it felt like what I can only assume would be akin to having something like LSD, but with my eyes shut. It was like a lifting sensation and kind of out of body. And I hate people who I hear say this, like, I had this moment and this happened. I'm like, oh, fuck off. But it really, really was. And I was like, OMG. It felt like my body had just ever so slightly lifted out of the chair, because I'd become so relaxed, I didn't feel the weight of my own body. And then when my mind became emptier, became whiter and just more space, it was really weird. I had this sensation of lifting. And I was like, fuck, I like that. And that, for right or wrong reasons, got me a bit addicted. And I thought, there's something in this. And then obviously a few years down the line, I was going to more retreats. And then I went to one called Vipassana, which is quite hardcore. It's in Hertfordshire in the UK. And it's a 10-day or 10.5-day retreat. And it's a silent retreat. And silent does mean silent. And obviously, as with all Buddhist retreats, there's no technology, no phones, no computers, no connection to the outside world as we know it. You can't just make a call or whatever. And vegetarian food, which is great. I mean, it's really great places, these, retreats, if it's your thing.
Yeah. Yes.
But this was particularly hardcore. You're up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you were meditating by 4:30. And the whole day was just, it's like 12 to 14 hours of meditation and silence. And it's still a very surreal time when I look back at it. But I think in part that changed me just a little, that retreat. It's one of those things, again, which I say to other people, when you're faced with self, and not allowed to be distracted, you'll either break or you'll find yourself completely and wholly and enter a new, whatever it is.
Dimension.
I broke. Kicking the walls, screaming, crying, can't do this anymore, let me the hell out. You're all crazy. I'm ashamed looking back, but it was part of my process. Yeah, it just made me realise this was self. This is the whole idea. You've got to confront. These are the, whatever you want to call it, semantics, but demons that bubble underneath and that you never face because you're too busy filling your house, your face, your whatever with things.
Filling the emptiness.
Yeah, of course. And just so much sadness and loss and whatever came up to that surface that I hadn't dealt with. You think you have. But yeah, so... Yeah, it was a real breakdown. It was a real kind of breakdown, but a necessary one.
Did it help you progress along your spiritual path, do you think?
Oh, yes, it helped me. It wasn't a defining moment, but absolutely, yes, it helped me for sure. And I'm forever grateful to it. I'm still trying to build the courage up to go back. It's not easy. It really isn't easy, but it's, so many people are dropping out. It was like... crying and screaming. It was like some nut house it turned into by the end of it, but it is kind of what it is. It's repressed feelings, a lot of it. And then when it gets out, the emotional state's too high and it can't be dealt with.
It's very true. And they say that some of the most spiritual people and highly, really elevated people are deemed, to put a word to it, people call them crazy, but they're not crazy. It's because nobody understands them, because they are so elevated in their state.
Absolutely.
But it's the balance, isn't it, Fanny, to find in your life?
Course. This is it. Yeah, of course. All about the balance. Absolutely.
All about the balance. Now, tell me, what is it that do you feel that all of these experiences in your life makes you feel different or unique that adds to this success of yours, that you're able to see so deeply into people to create these characters?
I kind of feel I've always been a bit unique, but then again, I think everybody should feel that, shouldn't they?
Absolutely.
As a human being. But I've always been really aware of my uniqueness.
Well, that's wonderful.
But in saying that, you can sound a bit of a wanker, can't you? Oh, I know I'm unique. I know I'm different. You know.
Well, I suppose no, you don't. I think it depends on the understanding of the other person, you know.
Yeah, of course.
If you were, I suppose, down the pub and saying it, they might think who knows what. But if it's in the right circles, you know, people that are sharing that moment with you that understand that, then absolutely,
yes.
you know, that have sort of elevated that status of being, I think then they would appreciate that.
Yes, for sure. I don't go around saying that. Well, maybe in jest, but not in all seriousness. But yes, I know. I have an appreciation of that. But do you know what? I think a lot of it is just down to something simple. It's not anything complicated as much as I'd like it to be, you know, but it's just to do with something being your vocation. If there's anything in this one world, you're born to do that, every fibre and essence of your being will focus, subconsciously or not, on a way in which to do that, to better yourself at that, to become that, it's every fibre of my being is about finding about other people and becoming that.
That's absolutely amazing. That is wonderful. That every fibre of your being is actually created to follow that direction.
Yes, that's how I feel. So when you're saying to me about your uniqueness, I think that is my kind of superpower as a uniqueness, that it's something kind of just was born with. And if you imagine fibres almost like a magnet, they're just drawn to certain things which they know are going to empower or impact or make a difference to or better what it is that I want to do. When you're saying about, you know, observing people or, you know, psychology, all of that is about being a master of your craft as an actor. It's just
absolutely,
all of that.
That is it. That's the pure essence of being an actor.
So all I do is chase that subconsciously and consciously. Everything that can make me a better, more truthful performer. Like, I dream of being the most phenomenal performer on earth. I'm also aware how that sounds to you and to, you know, the listeners. But I want to, is what I'm saying. That's what I aim for, to be the most phenomenal at my craft. You have to aim for the moon, don't you? Fall amongst the stars, as Lennon said.
Yes.
But, you know, so in doing that, you have to do every single thing and try to attach yourself to every single skill. And that's psychology, that's observing, that's reading, that's skill sets, that's improvisation, that's every skill set you can do, you should be fucking focusing on and making sure you're good at it. So, yeah, that's what makes me unique, that every fibre of me just wants to do that. So that's what I do.
And that is fabulous. And I love to hear this, because it's such a rare thing to meet people that have this fire, that have this spark and this energy. In effect, it's like the atoms within us are spinning in a direction to propel us towards what we're here to do on this planet. And it's that momentum of energy that gathers and pushes you in that direction. I think if we don't love what we do, then life is really only half lived.
Oh, God, yeah. But this is what I mean about finding a knowing self. Because you cannot know what you were meant to do or what it, you know, intrinsically makes you happy. I hate using that word, but I have. Happy if you don't know yourself. You'll end up doing a job that you hate, or working for the man, or doing a 9 till 5 and then coming home and moaning about your job. because you don't know self well enough. And if you don't know self well enough, then you won't be brave to follow what the dream is, and so on. It all impacts. Yeah. I'm lucky. I was born to do it, and I knew that straight away. So I've never had to figure it out. I just had to chase it and follow the path.
And what a phenomenal gift to be born to know what is meant for you, what you were put on this earth to do. And to know from such an early age is a tremendous thing, because some people don't awaken to it. Some people, their whole life, I think, can spend looking and not awaken to it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even that comes down to psychology and parenting and, socio sort of elements, doesn't it, when you're young, and what you're encouraged to do and what's permissible and what's not. So, there's so many different factors that come into why, I think everybody could realise their true potential, but maybe they are veered away from that for varying reasons at a young age. Or, so...
I mean, to feel so passionately and to actually feel that fire of inspiration, it is definitely the divine saying to you, you know what, this is the right path. Yeah,
I really believe it is. Mm-hmm. You just only know what you feel you know, don't you?
Yeah. Now, Fanni, tell us, what are you doing at the moment, and where can people contact you as well?
Well, I don't know why anyone would want to contact me, but I think they might.
Why not? Why not? Oh my goodness!
Well, they can. But so I'm all over social media, and you can just type me in. I'm the same on everything, which is Fanni Compton. That's Fanni with an I, so FANNI, and then Compton, COMPTON. Instagram, Twitter, I'm mostly prevalent on. I've got a Facebook page and LinkedIn. I've got a website that's for my singing stuff as a recording artist. That's www.fannicomptonmusic.com.
Lovely.
But obviously that's come to a halt because I can't get in the recording studio due to lockdown and what have you. But my EP is on there and a couple of other tracks and what have you.
And you're on YouTube as well, aren't you?
Oh, yes, absolutely, yeah.
So you're all over the place, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah, I'm not hard to find. Just type Fanni Compton in. There's no one else with my name thus far.
I'm sure people are definitely going to do it, and I encourage everyone to do it because she's absolutely fabulous, this Fanni of ours. She is wonderful. And I am so happy and honoured, Fanni, really, for you to come on the show and share such gems of wisdom as well, because it's really something to think about. A lot of the things that you've said are going to have an effect on me, because I'm going to do that thing now of going to go for 2 hours and contemplate. I think it's important to do that. But thank you so much for coming on. Amazing.
Thank you so very much for asking me. I'm very flattered that you approached me in the first place. So thank you so very much. And you're an absolute delight to speak to on and off the podcast. So thank you so very much. I really appreciate that.
You too. And we'll speak soon.
Yes, I look forward to it.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.